Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Off Limits. Our guest today is Rajeev Gowda, who is the national spokesperson of the International Congress. He's a well-known face and a well-known politician in Bengaluru and Karnataka, and we are very, very happy to have him with us. He's also the head of the Congress Research Unit. So welcome, Mr. Gowda, and it's good to see you in the midst of what I'm sure is hectic campaigning, right?
Yes, very hectic campaigning, but I'm glad to connect and to engage with you this afternoon.
Thank you. So what I wanted to ask you right at the beginning is, you're a research team, you have a full research team below you. What do you think, has your research shown up a victory for the Congress?
Actually, electoral analysis is done by some other department. We focus mostly on policy, but whatever we are able to gain, gain insights from, the trends are very, very strongly supportive of the Congress victory. The level of anger against the state BJP government, the intensity of the anti-incumbency is quite palpable. And so we are actually looking at potentially
what is the reason for this anger? I mean, what are the points which have really hassled the people and they're really upset about it?
Well, there are a combination of points, right?
Okay.
One actually has to do with misgovernance. This government has earned, the BJP government has earned for itself the terrible reputation of being what they call 40% sarkar, being a party, a government that extorts 40% commission from any project that is undertaken. So the basic assumption that the basic conclusion that people of Karnataka have come to is that the state BJP leaders are just amassing wealth at the cost of the state's development, at the cost of common people, and what is their due. After all, these are resources that should have been spent on public works and other things, and instead they're being siphoned off into the pockets of the BJP leaders. So that's one of the, and consequently there's tremendous inefficiency, there's tremendous, for example, potholes in Bangalore that never get filled. Those are all examples of what is going wrong. And we, in a way that people can actually experience. And so the anger is very, very strong. That's one side of it. The other is, excuse me, in Karnataka, we have many social coalitions that support different political parties and formations. So the BJP has benefited over the last few decades from the support of one leading political formation. This is a community called the Lingayats. Mr. Yediyurappa, former chief minister, is seen as one of the mass leaders of the Lingayat community. But in this, and the Lingayats have, the Lingayat community is basically, these are people who belong to revolutionary reformist movement that was started many centuries ago by Baswana, and focused against caste inequality,
yes,
and things like that, and social mobility. And this community is not necessarily with the BJP for communal reasons. They're there because of political reasons, where they were backing the party as a party that gave opportunities to the community itself. And now the exact opposite has been happening. Mr. Yediyurappa, the tallest Lingayat leader, has been sidelined and made to retire, and they gave him hell before they gave his son a ticket. Another former chief minister from the Lingayat community, Mr. Shettar, has been denied a ticket. Former deputy chief minister, Mr. Lakshman Savadi, and both of them have left the BJP and joined the Congress. And they're contesting as candidates.
Yes.
So all of these have essentially given a signal to the Lingayat community that they are, non grata, that they are not going to get the kind of prominence that they used to get in the BJP. So a combination of misgovernance, these sorts of, community chaos. All of these are adding to the general sense and disquiet of BJP not being a party that should be given another term. In addition to this, there's a lot of, if you look at the rhetoric of, the Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah, even the Prime Minister for that matter, uh, there's been a tendency to try and say, everything will be done at the center, and federalism be damned in some ways. And this is showing up in unlikely domains. For example, Mr. Shah talked about taking our homegrown milk cooperative and subsuming
That
it
became a big
potentially
issue, yes.
under the Gujarat Amul banner.
Yes.
Now, I mean, this is hardly the done thing, and we have the second biggest. In fact, my late uncle is the founder, and
Oh, really?
yeah, 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 and
Okay.
the cooperatives have been an amazing story, success story, because they literally, make
Absolutely. Yeah.
profits go into the hands of farmers, even landless women who don't have land but have a cow still get to participate as equal members of these cooperatives. And if there's a very dangerous sort of underhand move to subsume KMF under Gujarat bodies, then suddenly the profits that are going to Karnataka farmers will end up going to farmers in Gujarat instead.
Right.
All of these have created a sense of disquiet that this is a government that needs to be shown its place, which is back home after a defeat. Last point,
Yeah.
nobody's ever accepted that the BJP earned the government, right? I mean, this has been a pattern of theirs over the last few years, where when they lose an election, they will resort to politics of purchase. They will buy MLAs, get them to come over, and then essentially contest again, and they basically destabilize democratic outcomes. So when you have this sort of situation, which is the case in Karnataka, in a few other states also, you essentially don't have the legitimacy of having been elected by the people. You basically robbed, you stole the government. So that sense is also very strong with the people of Karnataka.
Right. Also, before I go a little bit more into party politics, and particularly about the Congress, there is the communal card that was played, the divisive card. Why is it? It doesn't seem to be working. Are we right in thinking that it isn't working now? And you had the Home Minister actually say that there will be violence and there'll be riots if the BJP comes to power. Plus, there's a lot of, several incidents and terrible incidents being reported from Karnataka over the last few weeks in particular. So why is this not working, or is it working?
See, that's what I was partly hinting at. The state is not a communally charged state. There have
Yes.
been a lot of efforts on the part of the Sangh Parivar to try and inflame communal passion and, divide communities on the coast, Mangalore, where there are very significant pluralities of minorities, both Christian and Muslim. And then, of course, in the hills, the Malad,
Yes, absolutely.
yes. They look for syncretic, worship, and they try and divide that. There's the famous case of Baba Vodangiri and the Tapita, things like that. So there, the BJP's and the Sangh Parivar's plan has always been divide and rule, and but except in a few pockets where people have gone along with that, in the rest of the state, the BJP support and success has been because of the Lingayat community supporting them, maybe one or two others, rather than because the people of Karnataka have become communal and polarized or something like that. Now, that has not really happened. And actually, that's another point I should have added to why people are upset. The issues that the BJP has been raking up in the last few years have been only on these dimensions. So, when they saw young women wearing hijabs and going to college, they basically, came in the way of that. They a whole bunch of vegetarians made a big noise about halal meat. Then, of course, they had a problem with the azan and the loudspeaker use. And really, the state BJP president made a public statement. He said the forthcoming election is not about development. It is a fight between Tipu Sultan and Savarkar. Unfortunately, the people of Karnataka do not share his views. Basically, this is an election about the state's development. It is what the Congress party's agenda is. And Congress basically also focuses on inclusive development. So we've been focused on, people and groups, who may be falling behind. We want to make sure that we lend a helping hand and help people pick up and move forward. But this communal division, has been, I expect it to be rejected strongly. Karnataka has one of the few states to have its own unique state anthem. And in this state anthem, which is a famous poem by the Jnanpitawadi Kuvempu, basically there's a phrase which goes Sarva Janangada Shanti Atota. Okay, it means the peaceful garden of all communities. That is the self-image of Karnataka, and that is the image and the reality, in fact, which the BJP is trying to destroy for short-term gains. They tried to cook up, some two fictional characters from my community, from the Vakaligas, saying that instead of the British having killed Tipu Sultan, it was two Vakaligas who killed him, and trying to pit our community against the Muslims. And one of the leading Swamijis of our community stood up and said, "This is absolute nonsense. Don't cook up, fake history." And at least we managed to put an end to that. At least I hope so. But that's the whole agenda with the BJP. It's all about trying to create divisions and hatred and violence. And the worst part is the most recent threat from the Home Minister to the people of Karnataka, saying if Congress wins, there will be riots. Now, if you look at the history of riots in independent India and probably before that, you will see that a lot of them are not spontaneous. They are engineered, especially by the right wing. And this is exactly what Mr. Amit Shah is pointing to, saying, if we don't win, we will disrupt the peace. This is the kind of, this is the Home Minister of this country making such threats tells you where we have ended up as a democracy today.
Right. How much has this Bharat Jodo Yatra actually contributed to the new energy we seem to be seeing in the Congress? I mean, one is, of course, there is a people's support, but is the people's support also linked with the Yatra, the emergence of Rahul Gandhi as a leader, or the recognition by the people of Rahul Gandhi as a happening leader, as it were? And also, did it or was it able to enthuse the cadres into coming out, which is why we are seeing some shift in the responses of the party in Karnataka?
So the Bharat Jodo Yatra was a phenomenal success. Okay, I myself took part in the Karnataka leg and a portion of it, not all of it, but it really energized the party, party, members and our supporters. And Karnataka historically has a lot of affection for the Nehru Gandhi family. We elected Indira Gandhi from here. We elected Sonia Gandhi from here. Things like that. Yeah. And Rahul Gandhi's march has actually really galvanized everyone and given us new momentum. And that's not a mean achievement, because after 2019, there were and the numerous communally charged legislation that the BJP was ramming through, triple talaq, Kashmir, CAA, things like that. There was a sense that the opposition was in the back foot. But the Yatra has actually brought us back on the front foot, and we've been able to confront the government democratically on many dimensions, and especially expose the kind of crony capitalism that is being practiced by the Prime Minister, Mr. Adani being case number one. So overall, this Yatra has done a great job for us. Now, in addition, the Yatra route was through areas where the Congress is historically strong. Okay, if you draw a line from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, you will find that in every state that it goes through, and on either side of that line, we are organizationally still very strong. Okay, Kerala, we have MPs from Tamil Nadu, but Kerala, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, further Rajasthan, Haryana, Himachal, all that, right? I mean, so in that sense, this route was a good way of sort of galvanizing our existing cadres. I think possibly we need to request Mr. Gandhi to do another East-West Yatra to revive the party in areas where we have we've not been as strong recently as we used to be in the history historically.
You know, we have seen in state elections over the last few years, even in Uttar Pradesh, where people came out in large numbers when Akhilesh Yadav went, and before that when Akhilesh Yadav and Rahul Gandhi were together also campaigning, there were crowds, there was a certain kind of josh that you could sense and see.
Right.
But when it came down to actually the polling, the mopping up the votes, which seemed to have been responding, there was this big sort of yawning gap between the people's response and the vote cast.
So
do you fear that now?
No, not in the context of what we're talking about in Karnataka, and not in the context of the route that the Yatra took, because there we have a strong organization, and that's the part that's required to get the voters out, right? And that in Uttar Pradesh, our party needs a lot of repair work in terms of reviving the party organization. And in fact, it's not just that. I mean, for example, in the last Gujarat election, we've not done enough to keep our loyal party workers enthused. So there's a lot of work ahead. But organization is key, and I think that's those are all issues that you won't see that as a problem in Karnataka.
In Karnataka, okay, that's because that's something people are discussing, whether the vote will be impacted, but whether you have committees at the ground level or not, and whether you're going to be able to hold the voters. So that's interesting that there's an enthusiasm which you're seeing on the ground, right from from the base level up, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you think that factionalism has always been an issue. It's now an issue actually more in the BJP, it seems, in Karnataka than the Congress. And I know that all of you and others have spoken about your leaders being together, but that always sounds good, but what happens at the end of it, And that's when the purchasing power then is exercised, or the ability to break the party happens. So how fearful or worried are you about that?
Not spectacularly worried at this point, because the party has an abundance of very tall leaders, and so we do have multiple contenders for chief ministership, assuming that we win. But one thing I can assure you, that once a decision is made about one person rather than someone else, the other leaders are not going to abandon the party or sabotage the outcome, because I think everyone is committed to trying to save India, starting with Karnataka, and so there's a larger mission on hand. And so I don't, the other thing is, of course, that it's Congress. It's not like the leadership, any of the leaders can walk away with a chunk of MLAs or something like that. Okay, it's not so easy, and so I don't anticipate any dramatic change. Jostling for competition is
that's fair enough.
It's routine. Yeah.
Right. And to start ending this conversation, I know you have to rush. What about how significant is a victory in Karnataka for the Congress?
So Karnataka, we recently won Himachal Pradesh,
right?
Gujarat, right? And Karnataka is a big state. It's a flourishing state. It's the only bastion that the BJP has in southern India. And so when the Congress, takes over Karnataka, wrests it from the BJP, it sends a signal to the rest of the country that the BJP can be defeated, that they're also a very corrupt political party, and that was one of the key reasons why the BJP is being defeated in Karnataka, and and basically that this is a state which has overcome the BJP's efforts to polarize and communalize elections and the atmosphere. So if we can demonstrate that Karnataka has the ability to overcome all these sorts of challenges, that will give hope and kindle the fire in everyone else across this country. The opposition parties who together poll 60% plus of the vote, to come together and strategically ensure that in the coming 2024 election, we defeat the BJP. And that's why I said Karnataka, a victory in Karnataka is the first step towards saving Indian democracy.
Right. And the last question, which is related to this, if the Congress wins Karnataka, then the BJP will be without any significant or any presence in the South. How significant and important is that in itself? And do you think it's a good thing?
I think actually that is a very important thing. If you look at, Southern India is about 145, 150 parliament seats. And the BJP currently has about 30 in Karnataka, a handful in Telangana, etc. Even if we can reduce that 30 to 10 or something like that, that's 20 gone. And some of the other populous states, Bengal, Bihar, the combined Telugu states, the Maharashtra, these are all big numbers in the Lok Sabha. And if we are able to reduce the BJP to single digits in these states, then suddenly Mr. Modi's majority will evaporate. And if that happens, then the mandate which confers legitimacy on Mr. Modi and the BJP will vanish. And when that happens, it will be time for an alternative formation to take over. And that's what we're working towards.
So you just got a year left, not even a year.
Working on it, yes. Yeah, but Karnataka is the first step on that journey.
Right, Mr. Gowda, thank you so much.